Okay, morning. You're on to Mamu Jarvis, and this is for grade 12. Our focus will be to try to look at the just concluded NECO exam, and then to keep things very light, we'll start with the OBJ. If there's one exam I respect now, it's NECO exam. Whether at junior secondary school level or at senior secondary school level, I always have this feeling that their questions are very standard. And you really need to be very, very smart and sharp as a student to be able to handle their questions. They're not very difficult, but you really need to have practiced yourself. I use that as a reference model to test how smart or how intelligent a student is. So let's get down to work. We're looking at NECO 2020, and then we'll start off with the questions. Now, question one, every exam will start on a very light note, from little tap and then get into real dance and then sometimes real choreography. So let's look at number one. It says, question one, express this number I hope I got that right. Right, let's apply modern writing method to base apply. Now we're told to write this in what? In standard form. Now what is standard form? I've done a lot of videos on standard form. Now what's standard form? A standard form simply talks about the expression of a number, essentially a decimal fraction, to what? A unit decimal times 10 raised to the power of movement. So the first thing I need to do in a question like this is to write this in its unit decimal form, and that will be something like 1.00008 times how many movements have I made to get to this point? If you look at this, the decimal point will always lie after the last digit for a whole number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that will be 10 raised to the power of 7, if I'm right. And if you took that exam, A should be your correct answer. So that's simple. Let's go quickly. Number two, express 0.004 0752 to three significant figures. Now, significant figures counting starts from the first significant digit you have. So what's a significant digit? Essentially, it's a non-zero digit. So once the first digit is non-significant, you've identified that any other digit occurring after that becomes significant. So this will be 1, 2, 3. So this is the digit of interest, and this is the digit causing the approximation. So this essentially will give you 0.00408. So that answer essentially is going to be C. Do well to send a response if you feel otherwise on any answer I have given thus far. Right, now question 3 talks about the addition of base 2. Now 11011 plus 11110. And what does this give you? 1. This will give you what? 0, a carry of 1, 0, a carry of 1, 1, carry of 1, 1, and 1. So the answer essentially is going to be B, according to my option there. Now, question 4 is going to test your knowledge of the evaluation of a sword. Question 4 is going to test your knowledge of the evaluation of a sword. Now, look at the problem. You have 3 root 3 minus root 6 into root 6 plus 3 root 3. Now, is there something very interesting here? If you look at this problem very well, very well, you discover that this term, all you need to do before you multiply is to turn this. And look at what I'm going to do now. This is where your power of observation in solving problems comes alive. So by doing that, you discover that essentially you are dealing with difference of what? 2 squares. And we know that for sort, when you have this setup, you just multiply the first 2 terms of the brackets minus the last 2 terms of the brackets, which will give you 6. So what does this give you? This will give you 9 times 3, that's 27, minus 6, and that will be 21. So your answer in that setup will be what? A. All right? All right, question 5. Now, question 5 is testing your knowledge of indices. Maybe I've not been doing that prior to now. Question 5 is testing your knowledge of indices. When you see a question, you should be able to identify what area of maths you're dealing with. And that's why I love NECO questions. They're usually they are very smart examiners. Now, this will give me this. Now, this is what I will do if I'm solving this. This is something as 1/2. So I would see, when you're solving problems, especially if it's OBJ, identify what you can take care of immediately and deal with it. This is this. That will give me what? 16 x raised to the power of 3 minus 5, because you're dividing. Y raised to the power of minus 2 minus negative 4. I hope you know why. The status of y here is negative 4. But this division sign tells me I need to do or subtract. When you divide bases, essentially what you're doing to their index is that you're subtracting them. So with that in place, this will now give you raised to the power of 1/2. I hope you know where the 1/2 is coming from. When I write a number, when I write the root sign, the index interpretation is 1/. The concept of fractional index is a concept of roots. So anytime you see a root sign, it suggests fractional index. I always encourage my students to keep it this way because it's really easier to attend to. And that will give me what? 16 x raised to the power of minus 2. Y raised to the power of minus 2 plus 4. I have to take that gradually so that for students who may not be very comfortable with that. Now this will be 16 x raised to the power of negative 2 and y raised to the power of what? 2. Everything raised to the power of 1/2. Right, with that said, this will now give you question. That will give me what? What is this? This is same as 4 raised to the power of 2, x raised to the power of minus 2, y raised to the power of 2, all raised to the power of 1/2. Now, this will have the effect of taking care of each one. And that will give you 4 x raised to the power of minus 1, y. And that will be 4y/x. So 4y/x is what we're expected to get, and that option is what? E. Okay. So we are done with question 5. So let's go to 6. Question 6 is essentially testing your knowledge of what? GP. Now, the first term, let's use T1, is negative 1/8. The second term, T2, is what? Negative 36. We know that the common ratio is gotten by dividing the first term, the second term by the first term. So this will be negative 36 divided by negative 1/8. That will give you what? That will give you a positive number. That should give you, is that 3 now? So the common ratio, since it's a GP, will be what? Negative, is that 3 or 1/3? Sorry about that. That will give you 1/3. So if you are told to find the 6th term, what do? That will be T6 equal to A R raised to the power of what? N minus 1. Okay, let's start with the nth term, just for purpose of so T6 will now be what? A raised to the power of R6 minus 1. What is the first term in this setup? Negative 1/8 times. What is the common ratio? 1/3. All raised to the power of what? 5. So this will give you negative 4 times 27. I want to break this so I can see clearly. And this will be times 1 over 3 raised to the power of 5. Now, notice my approach here. I'm breaking this out because I'm working with a model that I will not use a calculator. So I need to break it out to see clearly what I'm doing. And this will be negative 4 times what? 3 raised to the power of 3 times what? 1 over 3 raised to the power of 5. So when I do that, this will be negative 4 times 3 raised to the power of 3 minus 5 division. And that will be what? Negative 4 times 3 raised to the power of negative 2, which will be negative 4 over what? 3 raised to the power of 2, which will be negative 4 over 9. All right. I've taken our time to break it step by step because one of the things you should learn and understand about any exam in Nigeria today, you can actually finish all your WAEC and NECO exams without punching a calculator. Students don't see this, they don't understand. The questions are not set to check your ability to use your calculator. For me, your calculator is a big distraction. If you would settle down to do your thinking, you will discover that you don't need a calculator. So that's one counsel I'm going to give to us as we work. Try as much as possible to forget about your calculator because you really don't need it. And that answer will be C. So if you're taking that exam, that answer would have been what? C, okay? So let's go to question 7. Now in question 7, what's the requirement there? Your question 7 is testing your knowledge of sets. It's testing your knowledge of sets. The universal set is given as numbers from 1 to 10. So I would, if it were to be a theory question, I would advise you to list them out. So I'm solving with the mindset that I'm handling OBJ and also more importantly, handling the theory. Now, if it's a theory, take note of the bracket sign. You will earn no mark if you get this bracket sign wrong. If you use this or this, you are sure that everything you will do in that question will be a waste of time. So please take note of that and strictly to that. Up to 9 means that 9 is included. Knowledge of grammar company need to read the questions carefully and understand the direction. So this will now be what? This will now be 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And for B, numbers less than 7, meaning that 7 is not included. Numbers less than 7 means that 7 is not what? Included. So that will be what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right. So taking care of that, you are now told to find what? Find A union the universal. Now, anything that unites with the universal will be the universal. So you discover that in a question like this, you really need not to stress yourself solving everything. Once you remember this relationship, you can easily get your answer. So the answer is universal set, and that is this. And so that option becomes what? A. You see that this one is a walkover for any student that has prepared well. Now, question 8 says, let the universal set be given as stated above. The universal set is given as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then you're told that y is equal to what? 0, 1, 2, and 3. And you're told that z is given as what? 5, 6, and what? 7. Now, we say which of the statements is correct? Which of the following statements will be correct? So let's analyze each of the statements and see which one is actually going to be correct. Okay, now the first one, y prime is equal to z. Is that correct? Y prime outside of y is equal to z. Is that correct? Food for thought. B, outside of Y uniting with outside of Z will give us the universal set. Outside of Y uniting with outside of Z will give us the universal set. What's your opinion on that? Think. C. Outside of Y intersecting with outside of Z will give you the empty set. Is that correct? Think. Now the next one, the number of Y intersection Z is equal to 1. Is that correct? Think. Now E, the number of Y prime intersection Z prime will be equal to what? 9. So let's look at this carefully and try to figure out which one is correct and which one is not correct. Now, set questions are usually very technical, so you really need to be very careful when you drop answers here because it involves logical reasoning. Let's start with the first one. Outside of A, outside of Y is equal to Z. Is that correct? No, because I'm seeing an element here. And that is what? 4. So it can't be correct. If the outside of Y will be equal to Z, that's not correct. So this is not correct. Now let's look at the second one. Outside of Y union outside of Z is equal to the universal set. This is correct. Now, outside of Y intersecting with outside of Z is empty. That's not true because we have an element here, 4. So the answer will be 4. Let's look at this. The number of Y intersection Z. There's nothing connecting Y and Z. So this one makes that one wrong. Let's look at this. The number of Y prime intersecting with Z prime is 9. That's not correct also. That's not correct also. You get that? So the correct answer becomes B. Outside of Y uniting with outside of Z will give us the universal set. All right, so that takes care of question 8. You see that it's one of the longest questions we have taken so far. So that's for question 8. So let's look at question 9. We are given 1/4 log m base 10 is equal to 10 raised to the power of what? 0. Find the value of m. Remember that 10 raised to the power of 0 is 1. We know that from our knowledge of zero index. So what would we do? This will be equal to 1. And then this one becomes log m base 10 or raised to the power of log m raised to the power of 1/4 base 10. You know that you can write this as this. So what do you have? M with the power of 1/4, writing the log form in an index form, and that will give you what? 10 to the power of what? 1. Now, the inverse operation of a root is a power, or the inverse operation of a fractional index is a whole number index. The inverse operation of a proper fraction is an improper fraction. So that means m will be equal to 10 raised to the power of what? 4. And that will give you what? 10,000. So the answer invariably there will be what? A. And I'm surprised that the answer there will be what? A. So the answer there is what? A. So question 9, the answer will be A. Question 10 is testing your knowledge of matrix. Testing your knowledge of matrix, not the matrix starring Keanu Reeves. So this is 1/2 All right. Woohoo! The matrix is a very simple concept, very, very simple concept. And I can assure you that at the level of your SSCE exam, that's for NECO, they wouldn't press your neck so much. So I'll try to keep the explanation very simple. Now, what this means is that this will affect the individual content of these brackets. So what you're going to have will be something like this. So just watch me. That will be -8 times 1/2, 2 times 1/2, 6 times 1/2, 10 times 1/2. I see that. Just like what happens in your normal algebra, this will affect everything in the bracket. Then plus -2 times 3, 1 times 3, 5 times 3, -3 times 3. Are you seeing that? So the next thing you have will be this. Treat each one of them. -4, 3, 1, 5 plus -6, 3, 15, -9. What are you doing? You are adding. Now the rule in matrix says that you add positionally. You add what? Positionally. I'm just trying to use very simple term because I'm treating maths. If I'm treating further maths, I could go a little more technical. But since I'm treating, if I'm treating further maths, I'll go deep. But since I'm treating maths, let's keep it as simple as possible. Now, you add positionally. What does that mean? This position is these two positions can be added. So I'll have -4 plus -6. These two positions can be added. So I'll have 3 plus 3. These two positions can be added. So I'll have 1 plus 15. These two positions can be added. So I'll have 5 plus -9. Are you seeing that? So positionally, you're going to have, for add two negative numbers, I'm going to have -10 here. I'm going to have 6 here. I'm going to have 16 here. I'm going to have -4 here. Are you seeing that? I'm going to have what here? -4. All right. And when you put all of that together, what you're going to get will be, the answer will be E. And interesting, the question paper I'm using, I'm also studying the person's work. The 10 questions I've done so far, he has failed 2 already. So that's how this area can be. Sometimes very, very, it's simple, but also very, very, just have to be very careful. That's just the truth. So that's for question 10. Let's go to question 11. Now in question 11, you are told 3 log A base 10 plus log B base 10 equal to 2. And the first thing you want to do is to apply your relevant laws of logarithm. This one has to come back here. So we can rewrite this to mean and then the next step, we know that if we are adding logarithms, you're actually multiplying the numbers. So this will be and then the next thing is to try to write in the index form. And then finally, you're going to have so, but they said we should express A in terms of B, which means we are required to make A the subject of the formula. Sorry, this should be A to the power of 3. Sorry about that. So with that said, this becomes A cubed equal to 100 over B. I divided both sides by B. And then what do I have? Let's take it one step back, because sometimes students may find it difficult to perceive what has happened. And that will mean that A cubed will be equal to 100 over B. So what is A? A will be the cube root. Remember we said that for a whole number, an index as a whole number, when it crosses equality, it becomes the inverse operation of it becomes what? A fraction. So that will give me 100 over B. So that's what that answer would be. And that in that exam should have been what? C. All right. So let's see number 12. Number 12 is testing your knowledge of modular arithmetic. Knowledge of what? Modular arithmetic. All right. I don't know if a lot of us, but I've done an extensive video on modular arithmetic. Maybe what I'll do is to put that on my YouTube channel. I've done a very extensive work on modular arithmetic. So the next thing will be to try to put that on YouTube so that those who may want to get, and it's one topic I noticed that it's not being taught so much. I think for a long time, even where I'm working, I seem to be the only person who seems to be going in that direction to teach that topic. So let's see what happens. Look at this. There are two options. You can add the numbers first. So I'll just keep it simple. Add it. And what would you give it? To give you 70 mod 8. Now, what is essentially the concept of modular arithmetic? The concept of modular arithmetic is the concept of remainder. Your answer is always a remainder. Your answer is always what? A remainder. So look at this. Now, look at the multiples of 8. 8 times 8 will give me what? 64. And what would I be left with here? 6. So this will now be what? 6 mod 8. 6 mod 8 will be the answer. So they said, what is the answer to this question? The answer will be what? 6. So the answer is 6. And that option will now be what? C. Concept of modular arithmetic is a concept of what? Remainder. So the answer will be what? Simply 6. All right. Okay. So, okay. So question 13. The percentage error in estimating the depth of a swimming pool is negative 4%. So percentage error is negative 4%. And if it was estimated to be 2.6, so estimated depth find the actual depth. So find the actual depth. Now, the percentage error is negative 4%. What does that suggest to you? Now, the error, for instance, it was estimated to be what? 2.6. That's the estimated this thing. So what is the actual? What's the actual? The error is measured with respect to the actual. I'll come again. The error is measured with respect to the actual. So what's the percentage error will be equal to the estimated minus the actual over the actual. You measure the error with respect to the actual. And you have to be very careful here, because this is one of those areas where you could make a mistake. Then times what? 100%. So what the percentage error is? Minus 4. Minus 4. Minus 4 will suggest that the actual, minus 4 will suggest that the actual is greater than the estimated. I'll come again. Minus 4 will mean that the actual is greater than the what? Estimated. So I will just say 4% or negative 4 will be equal to what's the estimated? 2.6 minus x, which I will call the actual, over x times what? 100 over 1. So in this setup, this will give me 1, this will give me 25. I see what I'm doing. So I can now do that. This will give me negative x equal to 2.6 minus x times what? 25. So what is 2.6 times 25? That will be like, let's see, 50. That should be like 65 minus 25x equal to minus x. That will give me 24, 20, that will give me negative x plus 25x equal to 65. That will mean that 24x will be equal to what? 65. So what is x? 65 divided by what? 24. All right. So when you simplify that, what would the answer be? If you look at this question very well, I already have a fair idea of what the answer will be, because I said that for this to happen, it means that the actual is way higher than the estimated. So this will give me what? That will give me 48 there. That will be 2. Whole number. 65 minus 48 will give me 17. How am I right with that? 17 over what? 24. I hope I'm right with that. I hope I'm right with that. Okay, I think that should be the answer. So this is approximately 2.708 meters. So I am thinking that this should be what the answer would be. Now, the good thing about OBJ is this: I do not need to get the exact value. I've looked at the option. If you watch the option carefully, all the other answers are less than 2.6. So that tells you something. So the only answer that looks close to it above that is that. So that's also another way you can run fast, especially when you know what you're doing in the examination. So I'm going to get 2 whole numbers, 48 plus this. 17 times is that. I know that 24 times 7 is about 168. In that. So because it's OBJ, I don't need to overly. I've seen an answer that is close to what I'm looking for, so I put it and I move on. So that takes care of question 13. Now, what is question 14 testing? Question 14 is testing your knowledge of matrix again. Here they say you find the determinant. Now they say, okay, it said if the determinant is equal to 7, what then is the value of what? X. All right, so in doing this, it's very simple. What you need to do is to multiply this with this, and then multiply this with this. All right, so this will be, multiply this with this, you get this, minus multiply this with this, you get what? 8, and then equate it to what? 7. So this will give you 5x equal to 7 plus 8, and that 5x will now be equal to 15, and x will be equal to what? 3. So that option will be B. So what about question 15? What do you have in 15? 15 is testing your knowledge of what? AP. Now, in this question, you are told that the sum of an arithmetic progression, the sum, okay, so question 15. Testing your knowledge of GP, AP rather. The sum of a term of what? An AP is what? Sn is equal to 561. The first and the last term is what? A is equal to 2, L is equal to 100. Find the number of terms. Now, there's a formula in AP and GP that says that N over 2 into A plus L is equal to the sum of the terms. And let me shock you. This you can find at the back of your, or in your four-figure table. Towards the last set of pages of your four-figure table, you'll see something where you have progressions. There are formulas there. You can actually look them up there. So with that, this will be N over 2 into what? 2 plus 100 equal to what? 561. So how do you do that? This will now be N into what? 102 divided by 2 equal to 561. I can cancel this. N will now be equal to what? 561 divided by 51. And that will give me what? 11. So the number of terms in this question will be what? 11. And the answer is B. The first plus the last term. If you remember the formula for AP and GP, you have something like this. This is the one you are used to. That's what you are used to, is that not? But let me shock you with this formula. Are you watching? This is the last step. So this is what? I've also done very extensive videos on this aspect too. So that's what it is. So it's not strange as such. That's the reality of what you have there.